And welcome back. So I'm not sure what video this will end up in, as we're just doing some prep for the motor install, as we were talking about earlier. These are the new motor mounts put out by Anchor that we were referring to earlier. Went ahead and just got them hung here like the factory ones. And as you can see, just went through and kind of got all the oil slash dirt mixture grime stuff, scraped off the rails as much as we can. It's not perfect, but it's a far cry better than what it was. Went ahead and disconnected the two transmission lines left of that line set going to the back of the transmission. They connect the exact same way that they do to the intercooler. They just got those little tabs, which little kind of look like I don't want to say an exaggerated C-clip, but kind of like a C-clip. So the lines just fit in place and get held in place by that clip. I'll show you that a bit more when we do the assembly, but those lines are out. They're out of our way. You can see we got things wiped down, and of course, we're just hanging our new motor mounts there for now. I'll give you all those part numbers probably in whatever video that this segment gets included into. So just going through now, like we were talking about earlier, and removing our oxygen sensors, our old ones, and going to put our new ones in. Now, we're not going to install them into the pipes because we want the freedom of movement to mate everything up with the engine and bolt it up before we plug it in. But what we can do is, at least since we have easy access to the connectors, unplug the new ones, unplug the old ones, plug the new ones in, and just let them dangle there like the old ones are. Now, they are dangling there, but there's not enough weight in that oxygen sensor to basically cause a huge issue with it hanging there as it is. And most of these wires, it looks like they're supported by a clip. So there's not, like, again, there's not all that much weight of that oxygen sensor just kind of hanging out, waiting for us to do the install. Now, if they were screwed into the exhaust pipe and it had the weight of the exhaust pipe on it, then I would say, yeah, that would be an issue. So again, we're going to go through here, get them disconnected, get the new ones in place. This truck uses 2 pre, 2 post. 3 of them are this part number here, 23161, and there's one oddball. According to Rock Auto, uses a 23165. And if I had to hazard a guess, this one more than likely has a longer pigtail on it than the other 3, from what I'm seeing and what I've dealt with before. So yes, we are going back in with NTK. NTK is a OEM manufacturer for Chrysler. Sometimes in these Dodges, you'll find an actual Denso O2 sensor, and a lot of times you'll find NTK O2 sensors. So I've used NTK before. We're going in with NTK on this one. So just want to show you that so far. That's what we've done. Motor mounts hung, clean everything up a little bit, and then we're just going to swap these oxygen sensors out while we can, and I'll bring you back for the next piece. One moment. And welcome back. So I just got you sitting down here looking at the passenger pre-cat O2 sensor, along with one of the part number 23161 replacements. You can see it's pretty much the same size, same characteristics, pigtail length is the same, and they do give you a little bit of the install instructions as far as different torquing values based on whether it's what they call an M18 or an M12 sensor. And connector and everything matches up just fine. So what I'm going to do also is I'm going to leave this protective cap on these O2 sensors until right before we're ready to install it into the exhaust pipe. And of course, since it will be already hooked up to the wiring harness, we'll just have to pre-twist it, so that way as we twist this into the exhaust pipe and then go to tighten it, the twist comes out of it. So that way, we don't end up with a bunch of twisted cables trying to thread it in, since it's already attached to the wiring harness. So like I said, this one was at the top of the transmission. This is the passenger pre-cat, and the driver pre-cat, as far as its electrical connector, is right there. Got my finger on it. That was the one for passenger. That's the one for driver pre-cat. You can see they're right there on the top of the transmission, which is why we're taking advantage of the opportunity of getting at them now. So that being said, I'm going to continue with this and bring you back in a moment. And welcome back. Hopefully you can hear my voice. I got you. I'm holding the camera, and hopefully I got enough light up there for you to see this. So I just want to show you this connector. Based on this pigtail length, I believe this one's going to be the one that uses the alternate part number. This is the passenger side post of O2 sensor connection, and it's right here at the top of the transmission. You just kind of have to get close and personal and reach up and give your transmission a bit of a bear hug to get this one. This one's not too bad because you can see I got a little bit of slack. I can kind of manipulate this connector, but that's where that one's located. So let me get this one swapped out and I'll bring you back for the driver's side. One moment. But again, just you can see, that's it right there. And it's just up the side of the transmission, follow your cable up, and then at least in this case, you can see it's a white colored connector. So one moment. And welcome back. So what you're seeing now is driver's side post catalytic converter. So it's right there on the side of the transmission. Easy to see and easy to get to. The only one out of 4. Why they didn't take all of them and put them like on the outside side of a harness like that, or at least, you know, extend the connector from being on top of the transmission down a little bit where you could actually get to it. I don't know, but for future engineers out there, you know, this type of stuff, if you can do this, is invaluable. It saves so much time to be able to just quickly get to a connector, as you would imagine. But anyway, so that's the driver's side post, and that is a shorter one. So yes, just to confirm, the passenger side post catalytic converter is the oddball one with just slightly with a different part number, just because it has the longer pigtail. So let me get this one changed and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So I just wanted to show you this here real quick. We made a comment earlier about NTK being an OEM for Mopar. So this is one of the original sensors we pulled out. And you'll see a part number on there. You might not be able to see it too well in the camera, but it's 051-49171AA. That is a Mopar part number. But if you look right underneath of it, you'll see NTK also engraved in it. And yes, that number does cross per Google to be an oxygen, a Mopar listed oxygen sensor. So again, so just kind of showing you that, yeah, NTK is an OEM for Mopar. So if you're buying them from Mopar or you're buying them from NTK, it shouldn't make any difference. So I'll bring you back in a bit. Thank you much. And welcome back. So on to our next piece of, I guess, tasks that you can, I guess what you can call them is items that we're trying to hit while it's much easier to get to them without the engine being there, is the expansion valve for the AC system that we spoke about earlier. So I ordered this kit from Rock Auto, and what this kit is, to show you here, it's an AC service kit. There's your part number. And what it comes with is a container of oil for the system, PAG 46 in this case, refrigerant lubricant for R134A systems, and you can see where it says do not use or mix with oils for R12. We do have a 134A system here. So you get a looks to be 8 fluid ounce bottle of oil. You get a new filter dryer for the condenser. Now we're going to be replacing the entire condenser, so that condenser will come with a filter dryer in it, so we don't necessarily need this one. Comes with the expansion valve. And it also comes with a kit of assorted O-rings, as well as I guess you could just call them assorted O-rings based on the application and the AC hoses used. They give you a nice selection to kind of match up with what you've already got and just kind of replace like for like. Same thing with the evaporator portion. You see we've got our evaporator with a new center threading rod, because remember the two AC lines from the vehicle come into this side and kind of get clamped together. And then inside of the box, we also have an O-ring assortment, again, based on what we're going to need to fit. And obviously based on the type of lines we have and the type of seal that's going to be between this and the inside connection point that goes into our HVAC box, which is this piece here. So this piece will unscrew with a couple of Allen screws from the firewall, and we'll replace the seals and put the new one in place. And of course, this is the side that the AC lines going to and from the compressor, as well as the condenser in the engine compartment will hook up to. So what we need to do first is get the old one off. And again, I'm not an AC guy. I'm just taking the advantage here, since the system did have a leak and we recovered what was there, and the system being empty, no better time to, you know, replace the evaporator and do a little service on the system, especially since we've got easy access. And as you can see, we can just kind of walk up to our evaporator valve. So we've got 2 Allen screws, top and bottom. Once we crack that loose, we should be able to fish that piece out, take a look at what we got, get our new one up to match, and get our new one installed. So let me work on getting this one out of here, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So we got our 2 Allens out. It looks like they've got some kind of thread sealer on there, so we may have to put a little bit of thread sealant on it when we go back in. As you can see, we got our valve out, and we've got a couple O-rings around our existing pipes. We need to fish those off. And this is our old evaporator here. So we're just going to compare this to the new one. We're going to get those O-rings fished off, and since they're using O-rings back there, let's get our kits dumped out. So it's probably going to be that package right there with the 2 single O-rings in it, if I had to guess. Or it could be these 2 here. Yeah, it looks like you got a couple more in this bag. So we'll get our old O-rings fished out, compare them to the new ones. These look to actually be the same, to be honest with you. These O-rings look to be the same as these, so it's going to be one of these 2 sets. But we'll get the old ones off those little posts, and then I'll bring you back and we'll do a bit of a comparison. One moment. And welcome back. So we got our old O-rings off of our coolant pipes that go, again, through our firewall into our HVAC box in the cab. And just kind of comparison old to new, it looks like this little bag here with the 2 O-rings in it will be the ones that we'll use. And I'll get a little bit of oil, just a drop of oil out of our new oil out of our fresh bottle, just to lubricate those O-rings so they don't go in dry when we press this piece back in place on the firewall and, you know, put our 2 Allen screws back in. As far as getting these O-rings out, they're a little bit tricky because there's a groove on those pipes that these fit into. And in lieu of not having to pick, what I ended up doing was just using a very thin flat blade screwdriver you see here, just being careful that you don't mar anything while you're doing it. Was able to kind of work underneath the lip of, like, just say one of these O-rings here, get it to kind of roll forward, and finally push up onto the screwdriver and then pull the O-ring the rest of the way out of that groove. So not too terrible, just a little bit tricky. Probably be easier if we had a pick to do this, but you know, that works in a pinch. So let me get these O-rings lubricated, get them installed in our pipes, and I'll bring you back. One moment. So just to show you what I'm doing here, you can see we got the one new green O-ring around our smaller pipe there. And we're just in the process of putting the larger one on. It's not too bad, especially when you got them lubed up. You just kind of have to get them over that lip and then just roll them in place. And you'll probably see a little groove. Hopefully you can see the groove on the one we haven't done there, and that's kind of where those O-rings are going to set. So let me get this one in and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So we got both our new O-rings in place. Now we're just going to take our expansion valve, see about to get it seated back into its home. That felt good. Oh yeah, okay. I just felt it push in place and hit both of those O-rings. So now what we can do is just take our Allen bits, get our Allen bits in, and we'll get that tightened down and bring it back. One moment. So we're in, we're tight, we got our two fasteners tight. Now all we got left is putting the bit into the center. And this is the bit right here that the nut secures to when we go to put the two refrigerant lines into our expansion valve inside the engine compartment. So I'm going to go ahead and get this twisted in place and installed. And you can kind of see it doesn't go, looks like it doesn't go too far down because they've got a little stop point there. Yeah, much like our old one does. All right, awesome. So let me get this in and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So just to show you, we've got our center post reinstalled. I will cover that like we had the old one covered, just until we get to the point we're ready to complete installing the rest of the AC system, just so it doesn't stay open. I mean, it's open now, but to keep any contaminants, hopefully help keep down any contaminants, things of that nature, from getting into the system. We will be using more of this oil when we get to that point. Because the new compressor will come charged with oil, but we'll have to kind of dump the oil charge out and just verify how much the compressor is filled with. Because we're also doing the AC condenser, there's a certain amount of oil, a number of ounces you're supposed to add to the system. Basically, there's a chart, and I'll show that to you when we get to that point, that per the manual, based on the component you're switching out, it dictates how much oil to add to the system. So we're going to want to measure what the compressor comes pre-charged with, just to make sure that the amount we have to add for adding the condenser, doesn't overfill the system as far as its oil requirements. But either way, again, old expansion valve is out, new one is in. And not that we were having any issues with this that we know of. It was again one of those, while we're here, while we got the system exposed, while we had access to it, and again, while we're there, type moments to go ahead and get that switched out. With that being said, I think this video is actually kind of long enough, even though it's just kind of a bunch of like little miscellaneous pieces leading up to the install. I might make this its own separate video, a little bit of a smaller one, just to kind of put out there. And then when we come back, we'll continue doing the prep on the block to get it ready to go back in. So I'm still thinking about it. So obviously, if you're seeing this, then yeah, it became a video of its own, or it may just be added to an existing video. I got to look at the runtime on this. But with that being said, just to kind of recap what we've done, we cleaned up the engine bay a little bit, got some of the heavier grime off, got our new engine mounts kind of hung in place, ready and waiting to receive, got our new expansion valve for our AC swapped out, and went ahead and pre-hung all 4 oxygen sensors again, and just in prep of eventual connection. So with that being said, I will let you go, and I'll bring you back for the next one. Thank you much. Bye.